All right, so let's go ahead and attach the neckband to the neckline. Start by, of course, sewing your shirt at the shoulder seam. I personally prefer to attach my necklines, my neckbands prior to sewing the sleeves on or side seams, right? Like right after I do my shoulder seam. But you don't have to. You can leave this for the last step of the pattern. I find that it's easier to move the fabric around if it's not all sewn together. A very important step to take is to make sure you snip your neckline V as close to the stay stitch as possible, like I did here. See? This is the stay stitch of the neckline that we did earlier, and using very sharp scissors, snip your seam allowance as close to the stay stitch, obviously without snipping your stay stitch. Now take your neckband and with the right sides together, match the center of the V to the center of the front of your shirt. So the seam of the V-neck will match the snip that we did on the neckline. It's forming like a little diamond. I'm showing you the back of the fabric so you can see the difference. Then match your neckline notches. The favorite has these notches that make sure you cut them out when you cut your pattern. So right now I'm not dealing with the back of the shirt yet, and I'll tell you why in just a second. I'm just clipping or pinning the front of the shirt and the V. Now, when I do a crew neck, it's easy. You quarter it, you sew it all in one shot. Now, for the V neckline, I'd like to highly recommend to do an extra step of just sewing with your sewing machine, not your serger, just the V first. And then you can do the rest of the neckline with your serger or your sewing machine. But I highly recommend to get that crisp V neckline to do just a couple of inches to the left and to the right of the V point with your sewing machine, because if you don't like it, you can easily seam rip it and do it over, versus if you were to be doing the whole neckline with your serger, you don't want to take off all those serger stitches. So again, use your sewing machine for this step. It will make your life easier and you'll get that perfect V neckline look. So that's why I didn't bother pinning the back of the neckline just yet, because I want to make sure I'm placing it in the right spot first in the front. So I'm using my sewing machine for this. I'm sewing with the wrong side of the shirt up. This way I have I can see the V, that little diamond shape point easily. And I'm sewing about, what can I say, about 2 inches away from on each side. And make sure you follow the pattern's 1/2 inch seam allowance. Go slowly. It's definitely worth taking this extra step. And pivot right as you've reached that center. trying to make sure I'm getting it in the right spot because the camera is in the way. It's not, I don't usually sew in this position. I need one more stitch. Again, if this is something you're not 100% happy with, you can definitely use your seam ripper and so this should be okay now. Perfect. Look how pretty it looks. So as you can see, this was the stay stitch and this is the new stitch that we did right now. See why I said let's do it a little bit less than half an inch? This way now it's in, this stay stitch is enclosed in the actual seam. Okay, so now you can flip it on the other side. And make sure that you like the location of the V. Again, we've only sewn a few inches, so the neckline, the neckband is not fully attached, but you can see if you like how it looks. And I think I love how it looks. The seam, this is the seam of the neckline, is aligned with the V of the shirt, so that's perfect. So now all you have to do is make sure you match. The hard part is done now. So what you have to do is find the center back like you do with your crew necks. So find the center back of your shirt and match it with the center back of your neckband. You already have the notches matched and clipped together. So now I'm just matching the center back, right sides together. Make sure your neckband is on the outside of the shirt, because if you put your neckband on the inside of the shirt, your seam will be visible and you don't want that, unless that's the look you're going for. So now my notches are matched, the back is matched. Just simply stretch the neckband to match the neckline without stretching the neckline and pin it in place. Perfect. So now you can you can attach the neckband with your sewing machine, or you can attach it with your serger and then top stitch it. So I personally prefer to attach it with my serger, so I'm going to be moving you slowly here. Hopefully I'm not getting you guys to wait too dizzy. And we'll try to see. Okay. Because the pattern follows a ½ inch seam allowance, when you attach it with your serger, you're going to have to trim away 1/4 inch, because your serger seam is a 1/4 inch. So to make sure we keep this straight V, I start my V neckline in the front. The crew ones I start in the back, but the V I start in the front because it's gonna make it easier to finish off. So make sure when you attach it that the neckband. My neckband is underneath now. And trim away 1/4 inch. not serge over pins. It's very dangerous. See, the notches will be trimmed off now. So now I'm back to the front of the shirt. And as you can see, I'm reaching almost at the so this is the V. And now it's easier to finish. I will keep perfect. So this is how your serged V will look like. So once you flip it on the other side, you have a perfectly beautiful V neckband. I always like to top stitch my neckbands. You don't have to, but I prefer the look of a top stitch neckband. You can top stitch with your twin needles or your a zigzag stitch or your cover stitch. I'll be top stitching with my cover stitch and I'll show you how I do that. I'm just using a 2-needle cover stitch, and I like to start from the V point, not from the back of the shirt, because it will make it easier when you finish. So slide your and align your fabric. And I'm just top stitching like I would do with a crew neckline, except that I'm starting in the front, not in the back. Again, just like when we were sewing it, or inserting it, we're gonna end up on a straight line. Show you. Perfect. Your beginning point and your end point match. And that's it. I've used different color thread, so you're going to be able to see it very well. Make sure you trim all your loose threads. And that's it. All you have to do now, and again, a step I always recommend, highly recommend you don't skip, is press your neckline. This will remove any waviness that might have occurred when you were stitching. Perfect. There you have it. Beautiful looking neckband. Easy peasy, right? Just a few extra steps. Just take it slowly, and don't forget to ask any questions in the group or comment on this blog post, and I'll talk to you guys soon.